You were moved.
Hey,
Howdy.
you have me
Hello,
in Nisheen.
Hmm?
You're gonna get me in Nisheen. I know I said Phantaram and Symbolic, but Symbolic's going to bed.
Okay, that's fine.
And Phantaram's a lazy American.
I was about to say.
Okay, so Zeph and a senior joining me because apparently I'm bad at giving out information.
No.
No,
They
it's
just...
it's not in-depth enough for some people, I think.
Okay. Do you want to go back to Guardian then, since I already went over that, or?
Well, if you wanna. There's not that many changes for Guardians that are that influential, really, but,
Well, I already, like, read it over, so if you just want to, like, go over things that might have been crucial changes.
Well, I can tell you one thing that's a crucial change for me is the Sanctuary cast time change. Like, they fixed a change that was, incorporated into making the consecrations ground targeted. It also made them faster cast time. And they reverted that back, so now it's gone from a quarter of a second back up to 1.5 seconds, and that's a huge time in the middle of a fight when you want to put that down and try to save someone,
User joined
or
your
save
channel.
yourself. That's a big nerf to at least my build, or any build that uses Sanctuary.
Well, that I did not see.
Well, now you know. They also, well, big change for me is also the Scepter change. Projectile, the number 1 projectile increase. Means I can actually hit things while they're moving from a fair distance.
Yeah,
So I
you
can
used to be
actually-
able to strafe it left and right, and he would miss every single attack.
Now with the movement speed increase, I can actually land my Scepter attacks. Let's see what
that's
else.
obviously good.
Yes. There's some changes that have been made to the tomes, but I still feel like the tomes have too large cooldowns to really be used
Yeah.
to greater benefit than renewed focus.
Okay.
And well, there's a
What?
few changes that make make DPS a bit more viable, like blind exposures, really nice change there. Radiant fire. Yeah, I mean, this is just a few alright changes across the board, nothing too huge aside from that.
Okay. So nothing major in terms of, besides that sanctuary change for Guardian.
You might see some bunkers pick up the Mace of Justice trait in Valor now, that increases your healing power by 250 when you're wielding a mace, because that'll help some with bunkering. But I feel it's too. Mace is a very stationary weapon. It's a benefit from that healing power. You have to stand the symbol, which is good if you can keep standing in it. It's like good in smaller fights, but
Okay.
I think there's better weapons really for the Guardian. Yeah.
All right.
Move on to.
Mesmer now.
Alright, go for it. Just go through the traits. And I guess the first one would be the Mind Spike one.
Yeah.
Okay, basically the Mind Spike one is actually quite a... I think it's a nerf. Although the damage is great on a target without boons, the reason you would ever go through the entire sword chain was so you could remove a boon, an important boon. Maybe they have a long protection or any sort of boon that you want to get rid of, so I'd go through the whole chain just to do that. But now the fact that it's 20% decreased damage if they have a boon doesn't... It's kind of a nerf, but it's unsignificant to Mesmer.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay, and then Mind Stab, reduce Aftercast by 4 seconds. That's nothing amazing.
Actually, it's really good.
Well, obviously the responsiveness being improved. I went over that like with multiple things today, but
I don't know if you, like, before it used to root you in the ground, and now it doesn't. Now it's so quick. It's actually a lot faster than your number 2 on Greatsword. It's
cool.
insane how much I've been spamming it now compared to before.
All right, cool. And then go down to Illusionary Counter now. What did you think of that?
I think it's crap. I mean, they could have done better with Scepter. I mean, I'm quite disappointed in that change, to be honest with you. Like, Scepter needed something on the auto attack and not so much on the illusionary counter. So it was a really shitty change. It also needs someone to hit you in order to put the stacks on them, the torment.
Yeah. So if they're channeling that, they can just ignore you until the channel's over, pretty much. Then, right?
Yeah, they can ignore you. Plus, I mean, the scepter weapon itself is so terrible that once you put this on the scepter, it doesn't even encourage people to pick it up because the auto attack does nothing.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And then magic bullet after cast again been reduced. So anything big there, or is that just
No.
after now? Into the so then you want to move on then to Into the Void?
Well, I was just about to say the Into the Void change actually encourages people now to take pistol offhand more than before. The Into the Void nerf is huge.
Yeah, I think I was just going over that when you said something to me in Skype. But yeah, again, now you can't insta-cast the second you throw it down in a team fight, so you actually have a chance of dodging it now in team fights and whatnot. You can't surprise people with it like you could before.
Yeah, it's not only about surprising people, but it's also about supporting teammates. Now, let's say like people are training Phantaram. I used to throw Into the Void and pull them off immediately, like the second that they get on him. But now I have to wait a whole second to do that. It's also when somebody was running away from a fight, I could just put it down and pull them. That's not possible anymore. It's a massive nerf to focus. Like I can't explain to you how massive this nerf is. So, like using Into the Void sometimes was reactionary, and for you to have that 1 second before you can use it again, just it ruins it.
I agree. And then Signet of Illusions now. Anything big there?
It's huge for Phantasm Mesmers, but because of a few trait changes, it's insignificant.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the Siren's Call thing?
Underwater.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. Feign Surge, is that underwater, or?
Pretty sure Feign Surge.
I
would assume I assume it would be underwater. I think the number 2.
Yeah, Spear underwater.
In Spear, yeah.
Alright, so then ignore that. Ineptitude, fix the issue, the bug fix, so...
Yeah,
illusionary Leap, again the bug fix. Signet of Midnight, increase the blind duration of 5 seconds, decrease the cooldown, and nothing.
Pointless.
Yeah. And then the Illusion of Life, that's again a bug fixed. So now the...
actually, that's huge. That's a huge bug fix.
Yeah.
The Illusion of Life one. I don't know if you knew this, but if you took far-reaching manipulations as a Mesmer, then that would reduce the cast time of your Illusion of Life back down to 0.75, which was what it originally was. So now, without that trait, people that were taking it to reduce their Illusion of Life cast time back down to 0.75 can't do that anymore. So you're not going to see any Mesmers with far-reaching manipulation. I knew I ran it. I knew Sub-QT ran it as well.
All right. So I'm just out of question of curiosity. What's its cast time without that on?
I think it's 1.5.
So it's still not that bad of a cast time. It's just obviously the cast time with that trait, without that trait being there now, has been doubled.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then the Blurred Frenzy change, if you want to talk about that.
Holy crap, that one's massive. I think that's probably one of the worst changes they've done. It's going to be difficult to deal with that change as a Mesmer, because before you could jump into a fight, you could use Blurred Frenzy defensively, or you could use it in the middle of people to cleave them. But now you take retail damage. You can be feared, you can be, like if somebody's running like, what's it called? Nightmare Runes, then they're going to fear you. The biggest part about it really is the retail damage, taking the retail damage.
I think in general you can get hit by procs and also
Yeah.
necromarks and everything really that just goes to evasion.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Also, like the Engineer Shield, their number 5 can stun you while you're doing it. But the biggest part, I think, it would be the retail damage. It'd be massive. It's kind of like the Thief Pistol Whip, why Pistol Whip thieves have such a hard time because of retail.
Yeah.
It'll be the same for Mesmers now.
So pretty much no Mesmers going on Guardians anymore.
Well, when you go on when you're going to cleave a large group, you're going to have to be really careful, because if you start cleaving 3 people and all 3 have retail, you're going to take 8 instances of retail. Have fun. 5 instances. Forgot what it was now. But yeah, have fun with that damage. You'll insta-kill yourself.
Alright, and then the Phantasm thingy here. I think that's just equalization between the 3 reigns.
It's basically that is somewhat effective for your regular Shatter Mesmer, but it's just balancing things out since the illusions are going to have the Signet immediately now.
Yeah. And then the MOA changes were interesting to me. I wanted to know what you thought of those changes, because I have a theory. It's probably the same though.
I think that it's fine. I think that for me at least it won't change much. I'm considering running pistol, and I can use that to CC the MOA, although the leap is kind of scary.
I think it was.
The fact that they can leap.
I think it was more of a fact to give them a chance to escape from it, because if you knew how to use it properly, you could just like immobilize people with it, and then just like pretty much have a 90% chance of killing them if you got that off. So I think that was possibly a move to make it so that you can't get that instant kill off with it. It's not a guaranteed go because you can now leap away, and they've changed it so that's the other ones. Some involve more movement skill now with it as well. So I think that was the thought behind that. And then Phantasmal Berserker. Anything big there?
Huge as well. Now it's guaranteed hits. Before it wasn't with Greatsword. Awesome change.
Cool. Alright, and then the traits now. Chaos, Prismatic Understanding, pulses 1 second, every second while stealthed. I wasn't actually sure what Prismatic Understanding did before that, but...
It did the same thing,
okay.
But it didn't pulse as quickly.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Bountiful Interruption. I was just about to go through these changes right here in the Chaos tree. They're great, but the problem with all these changes is actually it all comes down to a single trait in illusions, and that's a bit far down, but we can discuss that. Like, all these changes are all great, but there's one trait that ruins all of it.
All right, well, let's just run down the list here. Actually, I'll let you read it down because you'll probably be better at it. Just go, I guess, go down the list and then tell me anything that's important, and if not, then just read it over and ignore the rest of it.
It's just the most important change there is Illusionist Celerity in the Grandmaster trait, the Grandmaster minor trait. Illusion Celerity used to be the first minor trait in the Adept tree, and Illusion Celerity gave you 20% reduced cooldown on all illusions.
Jeez. So that, yeah, so, I mean, assumably, so Illusion Tree, I'm trying to remember the trees now. Was that...
Illusion is the last tree down. That's the one you go all the way 30 in for Shatter to get Persona.
Yeah.
And Illusionist Celerity, you would pick that up with any build you were going. You would always go to Illusions to pick up Illusionist Celerity, because that trait affects all your clone spells. So your number 3 on Sword, the illusion you jump to, is a 12-second cooldown, but with Illusionist Celerity, it's a 9.5-second cooldown. You would always consider picking that trait up. It's a huge trait for any build you're going, especially if you're not going to go with a Shatter build. Because you need the clone generation, you would need the Phantasms up, etc., etc. So Illusionist Celerity was huge. And now moving it up, it means it's going to force a lot of Mesmers to push deep into the Illusions tree. And so if you want to also get Deceptive Evasion, which is 20 in Dueling, then it'd be hard to get all those other nice traits they put into the game without gimping your build.
All right. And then beyond that, anything worth noting in the trait changes there?
Halting Strike.
In which line?
Domination. Great change. It's up to 500. Halting Strike damage dealt when interrupting enemies has been increased by 500%.
Jeez.
Awesome for Mesmers that are running Staff. Chaos Storm, because that gives Chaos Storm a chance to proc a 3k hit if it interrupts someone.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah, and also, anytime you interrupt the target, basically, they're going to be taking 3k damage for every interrupt. So that's really huge. I like the choice where it is right now, though, in the Domination tree, because that makes a Mesmer choose between taking 20% Mind Rack increased damage, and it gives you sort of it's going to give a bit of a diversity, because people are going to have to choose between the 20% Mind Rack damage or Halting Strike, or even with Shatter's remove boons. I'm pretty sure though the choices are going to come down to between halting strike and 20% increased mind rack.
Yeah, I can agree with that, especially when they're
Yeah.
running a shatter build. Like we see like 90% of Mesmers running.
Yeah, everybody's going to run shatters, remove boons. That's too good of a trait. But I think that people are going to have to choose between halting strike and 20% increased mind rack damage.
Well, all right. I think that wraps it up again for Mesmer there.
Yep. Nothing really important apart from that.
Okay, so moving on to Necromancer, which I know pretty much nothing about, so I don't know if you guys want to take that away.
They have done so much to Necros.
Yeah, Eshin would be good for Necro.
I don't play it as a main. I play it a little bit. But yeah, to start off with, they increased the poison duration on the Scepter 3 chain, the third attack in the chain, from 2 to 4 seconds, which basically means now you can keep poisoned up if you keep going through the chain. Before you couldn't even do that, even if you had additional con duration. It will wear off before you reach the third attack again. So you just have much more poison from that. The Necrotic Bite changed. Like overall, across the board, they just increased the life force gain on a lot of skills. It's not that noticeable. You probably still need some additional life force gains to like sustain yourself, sustain your life force by in combat. But it's nice. It helps. It helps with combat if you got other sources.
Okay. And then the Corrupt Boon change?
Pretty big nerf. Before you could you could take all the boons someone had and just convert them into into the conditions. And you could take if a guardian had just used save yourselves, you could just convert all of it. But now you can 5, and I think it's random. So it's a pretty big nerf to that skill. But I mean, it's still worth taking. It's still really powerful to fight Turner. It burns through guardians. Let me tell you. That shit is painful. Going down to Spectral Wall. Oh my god, I love the new Spectral Wall. Before it used to apply. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you, just one thing. Blue, you discussed the blind change, right?
For which class?
It's the overall blind change.
I didn't
game.
actually. What did they change? I wasn't aware anything was changed on it.
Oh my god, dude. This is massive. It's massive right now, and a lot of people won't know how to deal with this. Blind actually will not remove itself until you attack a target and you land that attack on the target.
Okay.
So,
I didn't see that because I looked at stuff earlier and I thought it was they were only changing weakness and adding the new condition. I didn't think the blindness was getting changed. That's why I didn't really glance over that part of it. So yeah, that's actually huge. And I'm looking at it now.
yeah, it's massive for certain classes. Like for staff Mesmer, that's huge. Because before as Mesmer, if I had blind, I would switch to sword and just attack the air to remove it.
All right.
But
So-
now I can't remove it. And as a Mesmer, like, every spell is valuable. Like, we don't have spells to spam, especially in Sword. So, either give up Illusionary Leap, give up the Warden, or give up Into the Void.
Jeez, that sucks.
Yeah, so otherwise I just have to sit there in the entire blind and just do nothing.
You do not know pain. Try being a Necro and stuff.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
That's massive. Blinds have their potency has increased by at least 300%. Like, it's just there's no way around it. Certain classes won't be able to deal with blinds.
That's crazy.
Did you discuss the weakness change as well?
Yeah, I went over that.
Okay. Because that's pretty huge as well.
Mm-hmm. So back to Spectral Wall. I think you were in the middle talking about that.
Yeah. Before it used to apply vulnerability when enemies walk through it. It used to be a fair amount. I think it used to be 10 stacks for a few seconds, but now instead it's a fear for 1 second, and that keeps reapplying if you try to walk through it. In addition, if an enemy tries to walk through it, you also get the 4% life force. So if you put that in the middle of a team fight, and if you have terror, that's a whole lot of damage and a whole lot of life force you can get. And enemies
Crazy.
can also, yeah, and allies can also get protection, which they could before as well. But I mean, they nerf the protection part a little bit, and they nerf the duration, but the fear part is insane.
Cool. Alright, and then Whale of Doom, I think that was it... When they say add an unblockable skill effect, was it already unblockable before, or is it now unblockable?
I think it was unblockable before.
That's what I think as well.
Yeah, I remember, because I've been interrupted on my shelter with the Warhorn before, but
Okay.
it's just so to clarify it.
Okay, and then Well of Power. That was an interesting change on Well of Power. If you want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, they did something similar with the Warrior Stump. I think it's because it has a cast time, and it's also stun. They also wanted to make it a stun breaker, so to prevent it from being interrupted, they added the stability. So you wouldn't then, it wouldn't break the stun, and then the cast wouldn't go off, and it would be put on cooldown without actually having finished the cast. So they added the stability.
All right, cool.
I like having a stun break in this because it's like a defensive well.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of these stun break changes across the board. Some of them I don't necessarily agree with. This one it's nice to have a stun breaker in a well build. And across the board, I mean, they reduced the cooldowns of wells, which is a nice change. Can maybe run a few more of those now.
And then Unholy Feast now removes 1 boon from each target hit. It seems in general they added a crap load of boon rips to like a lot of classes.
Yeah, they just across the board just buffed Necros, it seems.
Yeah.
And Necrotic Grasp, which one is that again? No, not Necrotic Grasp. What's Unholy Feasts? Oh yeah, that's the Axe 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. It's good, of course, but I think the axe is still in a weird place. It's not really working that has any specific purpose, because it's kind of medium range. It deals mediocre damage, and the number 2 is really awkward to use because it's such a long channel, and you have to face your opponent the entire time and be within range. I don't think the axe will see much play.
Yeah.
I think it needs a few more buffs.
I think it's still just awkward in general, the
Yeah.
way it plays, so I gotta agree with you. I don't think it's gonna come into play a lot.
Unfortunately, not yet.
I think it's a cool playstyle. I just think it's way too weird.
Yeah, I can't really pinpoint it. It applies vulnerability and
Just doesn't
and-
work for some reason.
yeah, I don't know what to say. That it's just they need to find out a role for that weapon.
Alright, so moving on now to, let's see, Spectral Armor had its cooldown reduced.
Yeah, it used to be 80 seconds, now it's 60. I mean, I like that they're reducing these really long cooldowns a bit, because it's too long. 80 is too long for a utility skill that's not all that spectacular in the first place. I mean, it's not right utility.
Alright, and
Sorry,
then,
my friend's talking in the background.
yeah, it's alright. Then
Yeah.
Signet of Spite.
Really big buff. I mean, it used to be no one wanted to pick this because it's just so short durations and everything. But now it's actually viable. I mean, if you use that on an enemy and you use Epidemic, there's actually a lot of conditions getting spread,
Yeah.
especially with the weakness change.
And then the Death Shroud stuff, I think, was just I don't know if that's huge or not in your opinion. That just looks like sort of bug fixes, but
Yeah, I don't think it actually. When you're in Death Route and you get hit while the things are up, you don't get the life force
yeah.
as you're in there. But I mean, it doesn't wear off, which is nice. So you won't get it removed by trying to pop into it and use ability and then pop back again.
Okay.
So that's just a really good. What do you call it? It doesn't break up your playstyle by being annoying. There's a word for that, but I can't find it right now.
Alright, and then Signet of Undeath had a nerf, as it seems, as the cast time is increased.
Yeah, I mean that puts it in line, almost in line with the Guardian
Yeah.
rest, I think, but it's still OE. It's still strong. It's still a strong rest. I think we'll see a lot less people using it right now
I can agree.
because of that, and because of the other utility buffs. But I think it's justified. It's an AoE rest, and the passive on that ability is amazing. So I think it's fair enough.
Alright, and then Locust Swarm had the radius increase. I think that was Scepter or Dagger? Which one was that?
That's the Warhorn 5. I
Oh,
think.
Warhorn, okay.
Yeah, gives swiftness and an area attack around you.
Okay, yeah. I'm like trying to remember all these Necromancer skills, because the last time we even touched one was like November, so I like don't remember anything from it.
I don't
Fair
know
enough.
the names of half the necro skills, don't worry about it.
I play one and I don't remember half of them.
Yeah. Alright, and then moving on, Grim Spectre can be cast while moving.
Grim Spectre. What the hell is that?
Let me Google. Hold on, let me look it up.
I think that's
Um,
underwater. So is rigor
It's
mortis.
lich
Ah.
form. It's a lich form.
Oh,
Oh, alright.
Send out a claw that explodes on impact, ripping boons off of foes and curing conditions on allies.
Yeah, it's a pretty fast card, so I mean, I never really used its form, so I haven't noticed this in the first place, I mean, but it's nice, it's smoothing out gameplay.
Okay, and then
In general, things that root you are just pretty annoying to use. Rigor mortis.
Rigor mortis. What is that?
Good question.
I'll Google it as well. That is utility skill. It's your Bone Fiend's active.
okay. So the little ones that you blow up, isn't it?
Oh, no, the ranged one. Okay, yeah.
It says
That's good.
immobilize your Bone Fiend, then it will immobilize foes.
I like that. I mean, I hate it when minions are clumsy to use, and particularly Necro suffer from this with the Shadow Fiend having a long cast on the Haunt and zip the port that blinds, and this also having a cast time. And I mean, they removed the cast time, but it still has to land the attack. It's not an instant immobilize, so it's still a bit clunky to land. But I mean, it's better than it was.
Okay, and then Necrotic Grasp, which is the staff 1 spam, had its
Yeah.
projectile velocity increased.
Or not pointless. I can tell you
Yeah.
now.
It's
I watched.
still really hard to hit. I mean, you
Yeah.
can still sidestep it.
Yeah,
That-
I watched
which is
Ashin dodge. How many was it? Like 90% of all symbolics
Yeah.
necrotic grasps.
I mean, he tries to do the same. I just gave up and I manually aimed them to hit him.
Okay, and then consume conditions now oh, that's just to be expected in all honesty.
Yeah.
Chillbanes now has the ability, or now has the appropriate cast time I traded with graded marks, so bug fix.
Yeah, just a bug fix. The putrid mark change is amazing. Because particularly when you're in staff, you suffer from... When you get blinded, it's really hard to get off. You have to sacrifice a cooldown, and it's usually number 2. But if you just use that, and you get blinded, then you're fucked. You have to try and get the number 1 off and hit something. But now you can actually transfer with the blind,
Nice.
which is awesome. It's really, really helpful against particularly NDs and LAs, because they blind a lot.
And then Deathly Swarm had its projectile speed increased. That's the offhand dagger 4, I believe.
Yeah, that was a fairly slow before.
Okay.
It's nice change there.
And then
Neat was that.
Crimson Tide bleed duration has been increased. These are
Underwater.
underwater.
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe that's underwater.
No one
Yeah,
cares about
Deadly
this.
Cat and Wicked Spiral are all underwater.
Okay. And then Deadly Feast, is that above ground?
I think that's also underwater, isn't it?
Let me check. It is, yeah, underwater.
Yes. Okay. Death Ride abilities, however. The number 5 one, oh, I love it. It's awesome. Just not really anything.
I
There's
haven't
tons of things to
actually,
say about this.
I haven't even actually seen it. This is a brand new ability, correct?
Yeah.
If you want to
Number-
explain it to me real quick.
Basically, you you have it has I think it's an instant cast time. You
Yeah, it
target
is.
an enemy, and it applies 3 seconds of torment over time. 1 immediately, and then 2 every second, and then on the third application, you immobilize your target and you deal burst damage to him.
Cool.
So I mean, as long as that you basically tether to the enemy, and if you
Mhm.
both remain within 600 yards range of each other, the torment keeps stacking up until the immobilized lands.
Is it there's a league character, isn't there, that has something like
Morgana.
that? Yeah, Morgana. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's AoE as well on the Necromancer. And the animation is like this lime-looking light from the Necro to... sort of like how the Necro looks like when he uses Spectral Walk. There's a line like that connecting you to the Necro, if anybody wants to know what the animation looks like.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and if you run far enough away, the line will break and you won't get immobilized, but
Yeah.
torment stacks will still be on you.
All
I
right.
think it's awesome in
It's
team fights.
such a strong ability.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Life Blast now scales based on range instead of amount of life force.
Helps power necros out.
Yeah. Doom. What was Doom?
That's the fear
Okay.
in Death Round. And well, before it used to be 1 second fear across the board. Now it's 1.5 if you are close to your target. This is good. If you have enough consideration, you can get the fear up to 2 seconds. which scales nicely with Terra, so you can get 2/6 of that off,
Alright.
which is basically a lot of damage. a lot of damage,
And then
which is good.
moving,
change.
yeah, good. So now moving on into the other ones here. Ghastly Claws, increased life force gain from 8 to 10.
Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
too amazing, but it's good. It's good. It makes it a bit easier to gain your life force.
The next couple ones just really look like the life force increases here, with Feast of Corruption and Necrotic Grasp as well getting buffed in that regard.
Indeed.
Shadow Fiend Haunt increases the blind duration to 5 seconds. That's a long blind.
I think it's pretty normal for a blind, isn't it?
Yeah,
But,
I guess you're right.
But it's with the new blind change. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think people are still going to use. I don't think people are going to use the Shadow Fiend because it's kind of clunky. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It's kind of slow. It's kind of a weird minion, and people in general just don't use that minions on the Necro that much because they're kind of easy to deal with, except for in dueling scenarios, perhaps. I mean, it's a buff. I'll take it.
Alright, and then we had Reaper's Touch, bug fix, I guess, nothing major there.
Not too major.
And then Grim Spectre, another Lich form ability, is also now unblockable. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Quite nice. Very nice.
real quick, let's go over, I guess really just read through it real quick and then just go over ones that you think are crucial for the traits.
They upped the the scaling on the vampiric by, it's not that much, I don't think, but I mean it could potentially make a leeching build viable. I haven't tested it yet, but I think that's their aim. So it could be worth some testing, because that would actually be a quite interesting power build for Necros, one where you could leech your opponent's life force, because it just didn't scale well enough to be good before.
Yeah.
You could go all out life leech and it still wouldn't be enough. The Withering Precision change is they changed that. It used to be, I think it was 25% chance to proc 3 seconds weakness. Now it's 100% and 5 seconds on a 20-second cooldown. So I mean, it's a lot more reliable now, and it's actually, with the weakness change, this is really good. You can get some, if you combine it with the burning, then you have 2 procs on crit. On both on really powerful conditions. What the hell was that?
What's that?
Huh? Sorry.
Just rubbed your mic on something.
Oh, my bad.
It's okay.
Yes. And they also moved Terra up. See, I think they did this because Necros could just get everything they wanted, basically. Otherwise, you
Yeah.
could go a 30, 10, 10, 0, 10 build, and you could, no, 30, 10, 10, 0, no, 30, okay, I'm right, 30, 10, 10, 0, 20. And you get life force generation and marks, you could get bigger marks, and you can get Terra, and you can get the burnout crit, and that would be an amazing build. By moving it up a tier, that you gotta sacrifice something to get all that.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's to be expected in honesty, but yeah, that's an acceptable change to say the least.
Yeah, I agree with it. Because otherwise, I think Necros would have been even more stupid than people believe they are right now.
All right. Anything in Death Magic that's crucial at all, or just some kind of okay changes all around?
I mean, it's a nice change to the vulnerability one. I don't think we see, at least in PvP, you don't see Death Route being used in power builds at all, because people use Death Route primarily defensively or for the Kundi ones. You can't see it in Death Route and spam one that much, so the power based ones, the power based traits aren't that amazing for the Death Route.
Alright, and then Soul Reaping. Anything here?
Let's see, Near to Death. Yeah, the Near to Death change is nice. I mean, 50% lot, just a smaller cooldown on what's it called? On Death Route instead of 30. Good change. And there's also a tier down, so you can now actually get that.
Alright, and then the new Grandmaster trait, is that anything... I mean...
That is...
Go ahead.
Hold on, I was reading the wrong one. Yeah, that one's amazing. I mean, you could potentially actually make viable damage dash route builds, physical damage ones. But I think it's even so it's mainly for PvE, I believe, because you can't build it fast enough in PvP
Yeah, I agree.
for it to be a viable source of damage. I don't think.
Okay, and then last but not...
But amazing PvE
Oh,
change.
go ahead.
Sorry.
It's alright, no, that's fine. This is we didn't have this prearranged, so it's gonna be a bit awkward. And then last but not least, Spite in here. Anything major there before we move on to Ranger?
Yeah, the burning trait.
Well, yeah.
I mean that is so amazing. That's what's making Necros along with the Torment Chains right now. It's just a huge buff that you can get at. If you currently I'm trying to play with a 30-30-10 build where you go when you get the burning proc, which is amazing. You can get you get the extra consideration from that trait. You can get what's it called, the trait that procs the focus 5 ability when you hit a player below 25% HP, which also removes 3 wounds. And you can get a retail upon entering death routes, so you can get some. You can make a really powerful build out of that. The burning is just burning on Necros, tons of damage. I mean,
Amazing.
what's to complain about?
Alright, and I think that wraps up Necromancer. Now let's go to Ranger. We'll just start reading. I actually know a decent amount about Rangers. I might be able to say things here. Protect Me now breaks stun. That would be your pet takes all your damage, correct for you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's obviously good. Split Blade reduces the aftercast from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. Pet leash range has been increased to 2,000 units. Path of this is something off. Path of Scars is offhand axe, correct? For Rangers.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the number 4 on offhand.
Yeah. So with that now, the fact that it's now a pull on the return path, do you think that's going to be used now more actively, or do we still see it being like the bastard child of the Ranger weaponry?
It will remain bastard child.
Because I mean, like,
I want to see it though.
I do as well. Because I like the 5. The issue is that you're standing still with it, and it's And
these.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all these channels that while you deal damage, you have to stand still while channeling. It's you just can't get that off in PvP very often because people are just gonna take advantage of you having to stand still for long periods of time to deal damage.
Yeah.
Unless you stun your opponent, which I mean, it's just a very long channel. That number 5.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So, if it allows you to move, we'll start seeing it more. But for now, in your opinion, it still won't be happening.
I think they should give it a similar treatment to what they did with the with the Guardian Greatsword number 2 at the beta. You used to have to stand still while channeling that, the Whirling Wrath, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Greatsword, but they made it so you can move at a reduced speed while you're channeling it. I think they should give such abilities similar treatments.
All right. So then we had some pretty decent buffs here. I didn't think it was anything too crazy here, but the long range shot, the aftercast was reduced, and the airspeed was increased. The long range shot was the 10 stacks of vulnerability on longbow, I believe, if I'm remembering all these ability names correctly.
Hold on, which one?
Long range shot, or was that just the auto attack?
No, that's the auto.
Oh, that's the auto attack.
Yeah, that's huge.
So, okay, yeah, so
people,
that is actually pretty big.
People that want to run longbow, because that's one of the most terrible things about it.
Is the slow aftercast and whatnot, and
yeah,
the speed?
it's the slow aftercast and the speed. Yep, people used to be able to side scrape it.
Well, that's gonna help, obviously. Point blank shot increased the airspeed by 15%. Again, that's just projectile increasing, because other than that, the speed of the longbow was incredibly so prior to this.
Mm-hmm.
Barrage has had the crippled duration increase. The crippled duration was increased by 50%. It didn't really, because I think it was sort of like it only did anything if you were in it before.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
User was moved out of your channel.
Anyway. So with the barrage thing, you think that's obviously it's a good change for Rangers, but in general, what do you guys think of that change?
I think the problem with that skill is the fact that what Asheen said before was it roots you in place. and that's what makes it inefficient. Like, longbow is a ranged weapon, and you need to be on the move a lot of times. And the fact that it roots you in place and then you cripple the target, I mean, you have to sit there and you have to channel it.
User
I would have
joined your
much
channel.
rather if it would just go off, and it would be a fire skill. I don't know, have you played Smite? Kind of like Artemis, the hero in Smite, where you would just click the skill, it would go up in the air, it would land a cripple, not a very long duration one, and it would do sufficient damage, and the ranger could keep moving.
All right.
You need to kite. You can't root yourself. So against multiple opponents, it's not optimal to use it.
Okay, and then Stalker Strike. This skill no longer loses evade duration when traded with offhand training. It now strikes targets more reliably in melee. It functions with offhand training in PvE. What was Stalker Strike? Is that the dagger? I think. 4.
Yeah, it is the dagger 4.
So
It's-
that's a buff? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a fix. Basically, before, if you traded for reducing your offhand weapon skills, then the evade duration on the dagger would be reduced significantly. So people used to not take it because you wanted to be able to evade.
All right. So then we'll see that trait used obviously now more with that buff increase and maybe more dagger now, or the same amount of dagger. Dagger's already pretty much used in most of the time anyway, so no
Yeah.
changes there with dagger being its usability.
Yeah.
But will we see people take that trait now? Because there's a lot of
more
dual wield
people
builds.
take it. Yeah, Symbolic used to complain about that trait, but then again, changes to Ranger could mean that Ranger's not viable anymore, at least as a Beastmaster.
Okay. And now Crippling Talon skill now functions with offhand training. What was Crippling Talon?
I'm pretty sure that's
The number 5 on offhand dagger, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh yeah, that's it. So yeah, okay, so that was also fixed for PvE. That doesn't even matter. Muddy terrain, a bit of an interesting change. What do you guys think?
It's not
Mm,
really a trait, an ability to see that much play.
Yeah.
I mean, the duration of it was already really long, so by making it a bit more powerful and making it a bit accessible more of the time, I think it's
Yeah.
better overall. But I'm not sure if we'll see it in play, even so.
Okay. And then Lightning Reflexes underwater doesn't matter. Man War underwater, Counter Strike. These are all a lot of these are pet abilities, I think.
No, Man of War and I think
Oh, yeah, they're all underwater.
Counter Strike, they're underwater. Swirling Strike is underwater, and Crossfire is shortbow.
Oh, so oh my goodness, looking at this, then the shortbow had its range nerfed at the butthole. It seems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and I am looking at a lot of these for the first time because I sort of just browsed over the list before we did this stream. So then looking at it now, Shurbo has had its range brought into 900 across the board. Then looking at this trait now, but Quick Shot, Crippling Shot, and Concussive Shot have had their damages increased by 14%. Overall, what do you think that means for the Shortbow?
I don't think it's that big of a change. It could be more beneficial for somebody who would run power with it, but the 14% is not on their main damage ability, which would be Crossfire.
Yeah.
Like they don't really have any huge damage abilities on it, so the 14% really isn't going to change much. Even somebody who would want to run a Power Ranger, and you wouldn't even run Power Ranger with the nerf to the range.
Okay. And then the Spirit range was increased as well. Looking at that now. So assumably that helps with the Elite as well. Pretty
Yep.
much, yeah. So again, buffing spirits
User
are spirits in
disconnected
general
from channel.
viable though.
No.
All right.
I think we could possibly see some spirit builds being viable. I think Phantom was experimenting with something.
The problem with the Spirit builds right now is either A, spirits don't have enough HP and they get cleaved down, and then setting them up. You need to set them up where people won't be able to kill them, which means that you need to leave the fight, run somewhere, set up your spirit, and make sure that it doesn't get cleaved down in the middle of the fight. It's just,
User joined your channel.
if you could just cast them, if they gave them a cast so you could cast them out of the fight somewhere safe, then that would be better than having spirits follow you. But spirits become ground targeted abilities, kind of like the traps. Give
Yeah.
them a good range, and then you'd be able to put them on, like, let's say the ledges in Clock Tower, or somewhere outside the fight, so your team could benefit from them, and the other team would actually have to make an effort to kill them would be a good fix to spirits.
Yeah, I agree. Because having them follow you isn't actually beneficial. That's actually a bad trait to take. Because it makes them worse.
I agree. I completely agree with that. Real quick before we go on, I gotta take a quick AFK, like 2 minutes. Be right back.
Take your time.
I'll be right back.
Fair enough.
Have he muted us? I hope he's muted us.
No idea.
I don't know. Testing.
Don't think yes.
Oh my god.
They're making hotfixes, I guess. New build.
We can't cybersex real quick while he's away. Shouldn't.
What?
Can't cybersex real quick while he's away.
Alright.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Welcome back.
Alright, so where were we?
Hello.
So I think we just finished talking about spirits. And now we're looking at, let me see, Call Lightning increased damage value. What was Call Lightning?
I'll let you know,
Isn't
I'm not
that,
sure.
Is it
It's
under?
the Dutch back
Oh,
is
spirit.
big, isn't it?
It's the spirit, the
Oh.
storm spirits active. Which it does AoE damage, I'm assuming. So that damage was increased by 150%, but assuming it's spirit is still not a viable choice.
Unless it suddenly one-shots people, then
Kill it before it hits us. And then I think in general here again with the solar flare thing, decrease the cast time. That was also
it's
a
a
spirit
spirit.
thing, so nothing to worry about there. Counter strike, fix an issue, so bug fixed. And thunderclap, downskill 2, fix an issue that causes the ability of infinite range.
Yep.
And then winter's bite, again another bug fix. So that pretty much wraps it up. Now on to pets, which is I think where a lot of this really got hit hard. I think.
I think the pet damage wasn't as hard as the leash.
Yeah.
it's also really hard. Especially on the birds.
Hmm
Poor little birds.
I'm not complaining.
Well,
No.
you don't play
I bet you
Rangers,
aren't.
so.
He has the bird on him 24/7.
Yeah, I have a bird on me 24/7. Any ranger pet on me 24/7.
Alright, so just generally across the board, from what we can see, for the most part, it was just a straight up nerf to most pet damages.
Yeah.
And then the traits, Beast Mastery, Instinctual Bond. They swapped that with Zephyr Speed, so I think you have to go with 25 points now to get that trait, I think, right?
Yep.
Or 15 points, 25, right? So for those of you watching and don't know, Zephyr Speed was a trait which you could initially get with 5 points, where whenever you swap pets, you would get 2 seconds of quickness. It has been buffed to 3 seconds, but they now put it in the 25-point slot instead of the 5-point slot, which obviously is going to make that a little bit harder to attain unless you still go the full 25 points into Beast Mastery. Which I don't think a lot of people are going to do now with the recent changes.
Before it was
Nope.
so easy to just put 5
Yeah.
points in and
Yeah.
get that really,
Yeah.
really powerful minor.
And now with the changes where pets have been hit pretty hard, most people won't go 25 points into Beast Mastery to get that. And then stability training now causes pet to ignore incoming crowd control as well as getting stability, and it has a 10-second internal recharge. Is that good, or again because pets were nerfed, nothing? In your opinion?
Well, the problem is the pet nerf really to Beast Mastery is huge. I mean, they can't no longer support their team as much as they could just by sitting on a node, because before they could send the pet to do damage, and they're not as great in 1v1s because their pets don't do as much damage. There was a class that mainly depended on his pet.
I think the problem with Rangers in general is that their class mechanics are pets, and
Mhm.
they're so hard to balance because there has a few active abilities, and then it's very easily kited for the rest of the time, and it's a really hard balance between what's too much damage and what's too little damage, and what's good damage when you spec into BM. And I mean, it's just it needs to be a more active cast mechanic. I feel you need to have more abilities you can use with the pets to make ranges more viable in PvP.
All right. And then the marksmanship trait, Keen Edge, now activates when the player strikes a target whose health is below 50% health, instead of when the player reaches 75% health. So that's a bit of a buff, sort of. They could be described as sideways as well, to bleed stacking rangers, but those are few and far between anyway, so nothing really huge there, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I mean, you never saw anyone use
Yeah.
this really.
Yeah.
Still kind of not really the best trait. You don't want to use a trait that procs offensively when you go low in HP, because you don't want to go low in HP to deal damage in the first place.
Well, it was changed now to where it procs when your target hits 50% instead of you
Yeah.
hitting 50%.
Oh, yeah, okay, I misunderstood.
You fool.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but there's
Sorry.
similar traits in the ranger lines that proc when you hit low HP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
All right.
Beastmaster's Might. This trait now grants 3 stacks of might for 15 seconds. I think that trait used to also grant a pet 3 stacks of might whenever you swapped it, right? So now it gives the 3 stacks of might to the ranger as well? Or?
Yeah, I think that's what it's trying to describe there.
Okay. Well, good change. It's not bad, especially for rangers. And with the pet swap, it means that you're going to have 3 stacks of might if you do it properly at all times.
Okay, and then Spotter. No one really took this to begin with, I don't think. So from what I was seeing in tournaments and whatnot, anyway. So I don't think this was like. Obviously, it's been doubled plus 10, but is it worth taking? It's still kind of a weird trait in my
No,
opinion, but I
not
wouldn't
really.
say it's worth taking.
I would actually love to see a team fighting come based around everyone having these kind of traits, like the Guardian with the toughness one, and the Ranger with this one, and the Warrior with the power one, and then they ran a Banner Warrior. It's massive fucking stats for everyone. That was the most passive playstyle ever, and I think it would probably work.
It'd be weird a bit, but it would be amazing.
Possibly.
And then now Nature Magic, Vigorous Spirits has been merged with Spiritual Knowledge. Spiritual Knowledge has been moved to the Adept tier. What did Spiritual Knowledge do previously?
I think it's the spirits follow you one, isn't it? Or they have...
Well,
I'm not sure.
let me see,
I hope
hold
it's
on.
not that one.
okay, well, Spiritual Knowledge was the one that increased the chance of their benefits because they had the procs. The spirits have their base proc effects as well. So that one was the one that increased the chance of the proc. And Vigorous Spirits, I think, increased their health. Let me check. Yeah, it increased their health, and now as it's been merged, it has that 35% chance proc chance as well. So they just merged 2 buffs, like just general buffs to the spirits. And then Evasive Purity has been moved to the Master tier, and there's a new Grandmaster trait where Shouts apply 10 seconds of regeneration and swiftness in a 360-degree radius. Interesting. The issue is that the Shouts aren't really, beyond Protect Me, aren't really that good. And Sickham's kind of good, but I don't know
Also,
what
the
you guys think.
problem is, like, regeneration and swiftness aren't worth anything.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, a lot of other classes apply them effectively, but you would never really consider taking it as a ranger. Plus, you have enough regeneration anyways.
Yeah, I agree. Skirmishing, Companion's Might, now grants 5 seconds of might to the player's pet, up from 1 second.
Can we go back to the other trait? Because
Which, go
I would
ahead.
actually consider maybe having that
Nature's
trait
Voice?
and using Guard. Yeah, because that's a 15-second cooldown. You could get 10 seconds regen, 10 seconds swiftness on a 15-second cooldown. You could get perma regen and swiftness to everyone in your team, basically. More or less.
Which
It
is
would be interesting.
how much is the region worth?
I mean, that depends on how much
Yeah.
healing power the ranger has, but I mean, potentially an alright trait with that.
Yeah. And then the Companion's Might thing, I don't think, again, is going to be that big, especially with the nerf across the board to pets in general, so. And then Wilderness Survival, peak strength, damage bonus when the player's health is above 90%. That would only help in like burst builds, which don't really, in my opinion at least, would only help with burst builds which don't really exist in the Ranger world. So nothing really there, in my opinion. I guess you guys can agree with that.
Yeah, like, the problem with that is retail would just make you lose that trait immediately.
Yeah.
And Rangers don't have that upfront damage that other burst classes have. They're not really a burst class. They're a very sustained damage class. They'll sustain damage on you.
Yeah.
They'll never like burst you.
It's kind of also the reason you don't see many. It's a similar reason you don't see many offensive Guardians in competitive play. It's not enough bursts to sustain damage.
Alright. And then, last but not least, Healer Celerity. Right now increases revive speed by 10%, swiftness granted on revival, but swiftness on revival is kind of like iffy in my opinion, because you're not really gonna... I don't know. I don't think the swiftness is nothing to me, and
Yeah.
it's really just the revive speed, which is okay.
Yeah. I agree.
And that wraps up Ranger, so now on to Thief, which, from what I understood from trade chat...
Jumper.
Well, I'll let Jumper go ahead then.
Yeah. He should.
Go ahead. Do you have the patch notes up, Jumper?
Somewhere here. Okay. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, Lotus Strike. Increase poison duration from 2 to 4 seconds.
Okay, so, yeah, that really doesn't do much. A slight buff for, Dagger Pistol builds.
It would allow...
I mean, Dagger Pistol, you're usually running the, short bow anyways, so you always have poison up on people, like, on bodies when you really need it. So, like, poison really doesn't make a difference. What this does do is, it's a really big buff for, Death Blossom builds, or condition-based builds. In which case, again, you would probably be running a short bow, get that really long poison duration. But, yeah, all in all, that change really doesn't do too much.
Okay. Shadow Trap had its recharge increase, but really no one uses Shadow Trap in competitive that much anyway, if you can agree with that, I guess.
No, but the next change, you can now destroy it and teleport to it anytime you want. This is going to be meta changing.
Oh, really?
Like, I've been testing this like all day, and like theory crafting all sorts of different strategies and things that I could possibly end up doing, and the amount of things you can do with it is just insane.
Cool. That's gonna be interesting to see.
So basically, a lot of people don't understand how it works. There are a few bugs where it doesn't work where it should, but generally, as long as you're within the 10,000 range limit, it will work similar to a Mesmer portal.
So you could just completely get yourself out of a fight, or fall back to a back point in general if you're running it.
Yeah, and it is a stun breaker as well.
So like if you're, so it's just to throw a scenario out there, it's amazing in general with the fact, because if you get stunned, you're about to get chained down, you can just pop that and completely evacuate yourself away from the fight.
Yeah, exactly. And but yeah, if you do pop it without anyone proccing it, walking over it, it'll go on a full cooldown, which is 45 second space. But if someone ends up walking over it, the cooldown will not be reset. It'll pretty much just act like a normal trap, like Ranger traps, for example. Like, they'll walk over it, you can have a 5-second window of porting back, and then you port back, and the recharge is up again. You can place it immediately. And prep it for wherever. But yeah, what I was thinking of saying If you place it and you try to port back at any distance that's greater than 10,000 distance, is what happens is it'll act like a shadow step, and it won't blink you anywhere that you're blinking from line of sight. So if there's like a rock in your way or something, you're gonna be porting like 1,000 distance, or however far it'll take you without breaking line of sight.
Okay.
You could potentially see thieves using that to force 5v4s, couldn't you? Because if you put it at a point where someone's defending, and then you go and fight at the node, and then if they're trying to leave the node, you can just port back and take it immediately. Like a mesmer portal with a really short cooldown.
Like I said, there's a lot of different strategies I've been thinking up, theory crafting. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, like
Jumper's
Mesmer
secrets.
portal on Kylo. You know how Mesmers repair the Treb and they do that thing?
Yeah.
Well, you can pretty much do the same thing with Shadow Trap now,
Cool.
but it's on a much shorter cooldown.
And just so, because someone was asking in chat, how far is 10,000 meters or range, whatever the distance Guild Wars 2 uses?
Generally, on most maps, that is pretty much the exact distance from the middle node to the side node.
Okay. And then, so, I guess moving on after that, Shadow Pursuit is a trap, I think? I don't know if you want to, if that's anything important there.
That's the same thing. That ties into
Oh.
Shadow Trap.
Oh, okay. So that was, I'm trying to, it was a bit confusing to me when I looked at it, if you want to explain that for me. Just,
Okay, so yeah, basically if someone walks over the Shadow Trap, you can trigger it again. Like I said, not resetting the cooldown. And what happens is it'll give you 5 seconds of stealth, 6.5 seconds of fury, might, or actually that's probably because of the condition duration I have. Yeah, like 5 seconds of fury, 10 stacks of might, 5 seconds, all that good stuff.
cool. Alright,
And you have a
go-
5 second window to use that, or the skill toggles away.
Okay, and then, let's see, Death Blossom, trait now cost 4 initiative, I'm assuming that's an upscale in the initiative cost.
Death Blossom was 5 initiative.
Oh, so it's downscale, okay.
Yeah. So, pretty good buff, but like the patch before, a couple months ago, they nerfed Caltrops. They reduced the duration from 15 to 10, so whatever little Condi Thieves you've ever seen in EP play, they're long gone. and one initiative difference will not make up for it.
Yeah. Okay, Body Shot, which is the Pistol 2, has had its aftercast reduced by 0.4 seconds. At the same time, the vulnerability duration has been decreased, I think, to 2 to 3 seconds. But at the same time, they double the amount of vulnerability thrown on. But assuming mainhand pistols rarely used it as PvP, what's your opinion on that? Will we see it more because of this? Will we see it even less now because of this? Or
I don't think it's enough to bring out the build into viability, but it's a good first step, and it's really interesting to see where they're going with it. Like, what I see, what they want to do is like the playstyle will be like, hey, you pop a body shot and then unload, and that'll be like your rotation or whatever, you know. Or pop a body shot when an ally is about to do his burst combo. Like, you're running around, say, pistol dagger venom share. Like, that's a huge buff to that build. Like if you're running around supporting a warrior, and you're just like CCing for him, like venom sharing, immobilizing, all that stuff. Like pop a body shot right before his burst, and he's gonna be doing a lot more damage with those vulnerability stacks.
Alright. Pistol Whip has had the time between the stun and the Sword Flurry decreased, but I think Zeph was talking about this earlier. The issue is that, oh my goodness, trying to think for myself here. Retaliation still comes into play there, so more than likely it still will not be used effectively in tournament play, in your opinion? Yes or no?
No, retaliation just completely obliterates sword pistol.
Alright, and then...
Like
go ahead.
there's just no hope. Like there really needs to be something like a trait or something that you can spec into to alleviate that for sword pistol, or like the scaling on multi-hit AoEs needs to be toned down or something.
Okay, and then Scorpion Wire has had the aftercast reduced by 0.2 seconds, and its cooldown was reduced by 10 seconds, down now to a total of a 20-second cooldown for that ability. With 20 seconds now, is it a useful utility, or is it not, considering that it doesn't do anything else besides the pull?
I really can't see much use for it, honestly.
Okay, Signet of Malice. The base heal of the passive has been increased by 33%, obviously buffing builds like we saw Kruk one last weekend. In general, there's been, across the board, we'll talk about that in a minute, a buff to more passive supportiveness. Like, I'm using these terms very loosely of the Thief, in my opinion, that I saw just looking at the patch notes. So do you think we're going to see a lot more of builds like Krux and possibly some new ones soon because of the buffs to the stuff like this?
Well, that kind of ties into the some of the trait changes, where we see Signet of Power trait, which gives you might on Signet use. That was just doubled, pretty much. So, yeah, a lot more Kruk style builds are probably going to pop up, and especially with the Shadow Trap, how that works now. It's just going to make dueling specs like his a lot more mobile, and really, I don't think much you can do about it, honestly.
Alright. Where are we at here? Steel, the cooldown has been reduced by, I think it was 40 seconds before, is now 35 seconds. Obviously, that's a buff. Nothing to complain there about. Just a buff to you guys. Cluster Bomb has had the range decreased. I think, though, I don't think it's going to be that huge of a change. I don't know what you think. Just on that one scale, I don't think it's that major, but I'd like to know what you think of it.
Well, when you're firing cluster bombs at max distance, you really, I mean, it's really not effective to be firing them at 1200 distance.
Yeah.
Like, you really want to be firing them at roughly 900 distance, where you can, well, at maximum, where you can fire a cluster bomb and then get an auto attack with the short bow. Fire another cluster bomb, but
It's just too slow
the
at max range, or
yeah,
with the previous
flight
max
time
range.
is just way too high to be effective at 1200 range. So, I mean, that really doesn't change too much, other than playing on faux fire.
Yeah.
Where if you're playing dagger pistol, short bow, you'll want to be like standing on the ledge, like supporting your team, and you're really gonna have to, like, you can't really utilize the ledges fullest anymore. Can't fire 1200 range cluster bombs.
All right, and then Larson Strike had the initiative cost changed to 2. What was it previously?
It was 1 initiative, and I really like this change because previously, Larson Strike, my build specifically,
Yeah.
pretty much notorious for this. Pretty much, it just spam flanking strike Larcenist over and over and over, and there really wasn't much downside to it. I really like telling the story, but I was like a week after the change to flanking and Larson Strike. I was playtesting the build, and Candace asked me to duel. I went ahead and dueled him, and first few duels I had pretty much just played it as I should have. I tried to predict his endurance and his when he would dodge roll and go invuln and everything like that. And it took me about 1.5 to 2 minutes to kill him. And then, okay, so the next few duels, I just said, okay, he's really not doing any damage. I'm just going to just disregard everything he's doing and just spam 3 over and over. And guess how fast I killed him?
Pretty damn quickly, probably.
Literally the same amount of time. There was no difference between me playing well and me just spamming 3.
Mm-hmm. So obviously what you're saying here is that with the increased initiative, it's going to increase the time, the TTK, may not increase the effectiveness of the build itself, but it's going to increase TTK for less skilled players.
Pretty much. It just means you're going to have to play a lot smarter with flanking and Larcenist Strike. And if you do, you'll pretty much be just as effective as before.
Alrighty. 9-Drink Strike and Saddle Shot, we're going to ignore them because they're underwater abilities. The Ripper, I think, is also an underwater ability. I think the next couple are underwater abilities here. Deadly Strike.
Nightfall Strike, Shadow Assault, yeah.
Is-
Man, that's Shadow Assault. Oh.
That's underwater.
Okay,
though.
so yeah, that's the Spear 5
Yeah.
underwater, which basically makes you evade for like 4 seconds, and it was ridiculous. All you had to do is spam Spear 5 over and over again underwater, and you would evade everything and just be dealing damage at the same time. So yeah, 7 initiative. That's a pretty good change, I think, but I still don't think underwater combat will be close to ready for competitive play.
I don't think anyone does. Anyway, shots fired. Moving on now. Let's see here. Scale Venom has been replaced with Torment. So you're gonna get 3 stacks of Torment out of that, assuming you get all 3 of the casts off. Is it viable? Are Venoms in general beyond the ultimate viable? That's for you to say, and that's for the community to say. What do you think of that?
My opinion, I don't think Venoms are all too great. I mean, back before the Frenzy nerfs, when Warriors were still in an iffy spot, I think Venoms may have been okay if you were like running around supporting with a Venom share build, like running around supporting a warrior and just, you know, completely relying on his damage. But ever since the Frenzy nerfs, I'm not too sure anymore. There's really no class that you would want to say, oh, you do so much damage that I'm just going to set up immobilizes and everything for you, and you're going to kill everything. So, I don't think Venoms are in a good spot.
Okay. And let's see here. Dancing Dagger has had the initiative cost reduced to 3. Dancing Dagger, not really in your regular rotation anyway, though, so I don't know. What do you think of that?
Um, it's really still not worth. I mean, it may be worth the initiative, but the time to actually perform it is maybe not so much, because even if I get the perfect bounce between 4 times between 2 targets, I am still doing more damage over time, DPS, with just sword auto attacking. And that's AoE, not using any initiative, and of course the last chain on the sword auto attack also deals a cripple and a weakness as well. So I mean, pretty similar, but like the auto attack is just like far superior in every way. There's really no reason at all to waste initiative Dancing Dagger, even if it's 3, even if it's 2, or maybe even 1 initiative. I don't think I would use it too often at all. There are extremely situational times where, like,
User
if an
disconnected
enemy
from
is
your
stealth, you can, like, if a thief goes stealth and he has a rock dog out, you can Dancing Dagger his rock dog, and you can watch the dagger bounce to wherever he is, and you can use that to kind of guide you where the as to where the thief is.
Okay.
So extremely situational, but yeah, generally not worth it.
Okay.
Really bad skill.
And then, last but not least here on just the general list, Shadow Return, Infiltrator Strike Toggle, no longer a Stunbreaker. I didn't use it that much as a Stunbreaker. I used it more to spam Condi Cleanse when I was playing this sort of build, but I don't know what you think. I don't think it's that big of a deal in all honesty, but what do you think?
It's really, it really changes nothing.
Yeah.
Except for, like, in 1v1s, where, you really don't have, well, 1v1s on, nodes, where you're trying to keep a node in your team's favor. You'll want to, set the Shadow Return on the node, so you don't, get decapped. But, other than that, you know, you could just set the Shadow Return somewhere safe, like somewhere 1200 distance away, and anytime you get stunned, you can blink out 1200 distance away and just wait out the stun. Also, there were 2 ninja changes introduced this patch relating to this. For one, the Shadow Return toggles immediately after you start your Infiltrator Strike. This is actually a huge buff and a huge nerf at the same time. Pretty much what, there was an exploit, I guess, or as I like to call it, an unintended mechanic, where if you intentionally canceled the striking portion of the Infiltrator Strike, you wouldn't get toggled into the Shadow Return. So you could just you could basically just use it as a 3 initiative, 600 range blink, similar to Infiltrator Arrow on the short bow. But yeah, basically what this does is, since it toggles immediately, there were some situations where, like if you were porting into a team fight with Infiltrator Strike and you got knocked down or stunned or dazed immediately and weren't able to pull off the striking portion, you would not get the toggle for Shadow Return, and you were pretty much just screwed at that point. Like, especially against Guardians who know what they're doing and lay down a ring of warding as you come in, and you get knocked down immediately, you're trapped inside that ring of warding.
Yeah.
And most likely you're going to drop within 2 to 3 seconds. So with the change, that really isn't a problem anymore. So that's kind of a huge buff. Other change was they reverted the nerf to targeted teleports, so you can use them once again from out of line of sight. That was a huge blow to meditation DPS guardians who use their teleports for mobility, blinking up into Clock Tower from the side node, much like we've seen OPA back in the, like a couple months after release, way back when. But yeah, that change had really hurt Guardians and Sword Thieves, but they reverted it, so it's a pretty big buff.
Alrighty. So moving on now, we're gonna go into the traits now, and we're gonna try to go through somewhat quickly because a lot of them weren't that major. But I'm gonna let you do it. Pretty much just go down the list and talk to me about anything you think that was pretty major in terms of the trait changes here. And your mic's muted. I think he just... Oh, there he is.
Oh, every time. My hotkey for muting and unmuting is tied to going to the previous page, so I had to reload my page. Anyways, the treat. No one's gonna take that. Pain response. I actually have no idea what that is. Hold on, let me log in.
Which one is this?
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna log in so I can use those.
Pain response is you gain 10 seconds of regeneration, remove bleeding, poison, and burning when struck below 75% health.
Oh yeah, no one's going to take that.
Okay.
Basically, there's only a couple viable traits in each trait line. Acrobats, you pretty much have Master Trapper. You're running traps. Gain might when you dodge. Vigorous recovery, quick recovery. The healing on Assassin Report is.
Okay. Good.
But yeah, only a couple traits that are really worth taking in each trait line, and I really don't see like any of these getting touched. Going down to critical strikes, Signet of Power. Again, that's a huge buff for Dagger Pistol Thieves who run heavily into invest heavily into running signets to increase their burst damage. So that's a really, really huge buff to those guys.
Okay. Go ahead.
Furious Retaliation. A lot of people already took this trait. It's a really good trait in the critical strikes line. I don't feel it really needed a buff, but you know, sure, why not?
Alright, and then Deadly Arts now moving into there. We have Corrosive Traps, which, yeah, it's not really that... I don't think that's that major. Sundering Strikes, vulnerability caused by the strays bit increased from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Panic Strike, cooldown was halved when it was Panic Strike. Strike a foe with less than 50% health, you cause immobilization for 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's actually...
That's pretty good.
That's really, really good buff. Probably what you would be seeing that be taken in would be a Venom Share build. But in which case you would be giving up residual Venom, which your Venoms last an extra strike. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Alright, and then Lotus
But-
Poison... go ahead.
Demobilize is like really, really huge team support. Like if you're running a Venom Share build, if you're running around like with a warrior, you get that 4-second immobilize on them, on the target. Your warrior can just like go ham.
Alrighty. And then real quickly. Alright, sorry about that. Lotus Poison. Now the weakness range has been increased by 4 seconds, but I can only apply once a region. What was Lotus Poison? Just check that on the wiki.
Lotus Poison is the minor in the Master trait. It weakens targets when you poison them.
So with the buffs to weakening, is this going to be more of an option now, or?
Well, most of these already took this trait,
Yeah.
but it can only apply once every 20 seconds per target now. That seems to be actually a nerf, even in comparison to the previous weakness. Like, I think that trait got a lot weaker. Like, before the weakness changes, I think it would actually have mitigated more damage off of non-criticals than it will with the changes.
Okay. And then now into Shadow Arch, which there was some pretty interesting changes here. I don't know what you think of them, but let's go down the list here. Last Refuge, which was you would pop Smoke Powder, I think it was called. Yeah, Blinding Powder rather, which I think stealths you as well as blinding nearby
You mean
foes.
it reveals you? Basically, if you just so happen to hit 25% health while you're in the middle of an attack, you'll get a nice little reveal debuff on you, which pretty much ensures your death.
Okay.
Which is has really deterred me from ever speccing even 5 points into Shadow Hearts. I mean, like when back in the day, when I ran a Death Boss build, I absolutely despised that minor trait. Like, I mean, there's of course a Death Blossom variation where you can spec into Acrobats and do the double dagger perma evade style of play, but yeah, I did the Shadow Arts, and you know I used to like to go to solo the Fire Lord and play around on the enemy's back node. So the stealth really helped a lot with disengage and stuff. But every time that last Refuge procced, I swear, like every single time it procced, it got me killed. There's just no way to predict when you're going to drop to 25% health, considering the lack of base health and toughness that Thief class has.
Alright, and then we have Slow Pulse, which is kind of for me. I don't think that's anything too good. And then Shadow Protector was interesting to me, combined with another one, which I'll go over in a minute. But I think, in my opinion at least, I don't know about you, but I think that this trait could open up the possibility for some possibility of a support build for Thief almost, maybe? Combined with, let me find the trait. Where was it? I think Merciful Ambush. You could combine it with that and sort of try to build. Like I'm thinking more along the lines of Crux build, something like that. But in general of that, you could sort of try to formulate a support build, maybe almost.
Well, funny story about support build.
I'm just throwing things out there.
Back in the day, I used to run a support build, or a control build with Sword Dagger, and it was probably like the most fun set I've ever played. It was pretty much played like the Dagger Pistol set. You pretty much use every ability was balanced in relation to each other. You pretty much used every single ability from the kit. You know, the main focus was Cloak and Dagger, get the Tactical Strike off, and then Daze them, use the Infiltrator Strike to lay down a trap to land even more crowd control on them. If they have stability, use Flanking Strike to try to rip it off of them. If they're standing next to another person, throw a Dancing Dagger to get some good damage off. Given Dancing Dagger was extremely overpowered, but it really didn't deserve to get its damage halved like it did. That just like cut most of the damage from the Sword Dagger set. But yeah, I used to run heavy control support build, and funny enough, I actually used to run this trait, I believe, every time Stealth and Ally they gain regen. Yeah, I actually used that because of the amount of times I used Cloak and Dagger. Build was pretty much based around Cloak and Daggering, Tactical Strike anytime you had the opportunity to. And Shadow Protector actually procs on yourself as well. So you gain that regen as well. So I was pretty much just keeping permanent regen on myself and self-sustaining through that.
Alright.
But stealthing allies,
Like, obviously it involves communication.
down allies don't have the ability to get regen. They can get protection, which I think if they put protection on that, they swap that out and combo that with Merciful Ambush, then you could see some really supportish style, like thieves actually like going in for misses.
I was thinking more along the lines of like, okay, you need or like if you could get a big enough smoke field, like if a ranger or not a ranger, like an engineer comes up with a smoke bomb, and then you AoE that to stealth allies real quick. They're all gonna get 10 seconds of, and I think I'm reading that correct. They'll all get 10 seconds of regeneration now because of that. It would obviously require a lot of team effort to do it, but I think it's a possibility now, depending on how much healing power he might have to throw out that.
Specifically, having a trait for that and dedicating a stealth field just for that's way too much just for some regen.
Not even a stealth. What would be a smoke bomb in a team fight? Like I'm just saying, like if you have a grenade or not grenade, bomb engineer in your team, and he's about to throw it on the field, and we call, okay, smoke bomb's going down, and then start throwing in twos with your
You could blast it for regen for your team, but I mean, compare that to say a water field. Why wouldn't I just throw down a ranger steel water field, or blast my teammate ranger's healing spring and just heal everyone instantly for 1300? And
you got me there.
That doesn't even require me to trade into anything.
Well, you got me there. Alright. Real quick, let's go over the rest of Trickery and then we'll move on to Warrior now. So we went over Merciful Ambush. Long Reach increases the steel up to 1500 now, up to 1200, so obviously increasing the range of steel. Nothing to really go over there. Ricochet, the chance to bounce with this trait has been increased as well. What was Ricochet?
Ricochet bounces your pistol attacks.
Oh, okay.
And it's increased from 25 to 50%. It's a pretty good trait, I think, right now. But the problem is, pistol has no damage to begin with, so there's really nothing to ricochet.
Okay.
So sadly, as strong as that trait may sound, it really doesn't change anything.
Alright, and then Sleight of Hand, in addition to dazing the player's target, this trait now reduces the recharge of steel by an additional 20%. Obviously, that's going to be good. Will we see that more maybe now, that trait being used? In addition to it now decreasing the cooldown of steel by 20%, and in addition to it being a daze as well.
I was actually theory crafting some steel-based builds earlier. Just all today, I've been theory crafting and testing everything just constantly, and I mean, there could be a possibility somewhere in there to have like a steel recharge build, like just take everything, like take Bountiful Theft, take Mug, take Thrill the Crime, take all of those boons that you get on stealing, and just like focus on maybe throwing in like a control-based build, maybe like playing off of the days. There may be possibilities with that, but I don't know.
All right.
I haven't found any yet.
Okay. So moving on, instinctual responses trait now properly blinds enemies stuck by the feathers. Increased radius, doesn't look like anything too big. And then Bountiful Theft will trigger before Sleight of Hand. So that was a bug fix, I'm assuming. So nothing big there. And I think that pretty much wraps up Thief, correct? Anything else you wanted to say there?
No, that's about it.
Okay.
Just I think that they may have extremely overbuffed Shadow Trap, and it's every thief. I guarantee, like every thief in every tournament play is going to be running Shadow Trap. It's just too good. It's going to become the portal of Thief. Like, if you're not running it, you're playing Thief wrong.
Okay, so let's actually move on now into Warrior. And I think I pretty much have all the opinions gathered from players for Warrior now, which overall was good. The question now is it enough to be viable in most tournament scenarios? Which, actually, a lot of them still said no.
Most Warriors I talk to say they buff them in all the wrong places.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
I mean, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to promote build variety, but at the same time, the one build that Warriors used to have, or may have possibly had, just went completely ignored, pretty much. And I don't think it'll be enough.
Okay, so real quick, let's just do a read down of all the trait change or all the changes here, whatnot. Real quick here, Trevor, the velocity increase was increased by 33%. That was the offhand mace 5, so that's now which was a straight line of knockdown. So obviously that's going to be even faster now, even less of a chance for you to dodge it. Axe Chain, they've changed it up a little bit here. What they've done is they've, instead of having the damage spread completely across it, they've lessened the damage on the front end of it and increased the damage on the end of it, so sort of having it do a little bar effect there, so you actually need to get the full chain off to do the full amount of damage. Final Thrust has been moved to slot 3, and they changed it more to something similar to what Heartseeker would be. Now, not exactly what Heartseeker would be, obviously, but they've changed it into now where it's, if the target's below 50% off, it's going to do more damage. Hamstring has been moved to the other end of the skill chain, and it has reduced, but the cripple duration has been reduced to 1 second. We'll go over that in a second. Savage Leap now applies 3 seconds of cripple. Leg Specialist now has an internal cooldown of 5 seconds. Now, Leg Specialist, assuming I remember it correctly, is the immobilization trait. Just triple check that. Yes, it is. So that now has the that only has a 5 second internal cooldown, which is huge. Pretty much now, especially if you're running sword, you can keep your target in and immobilized every 5 seconds, which is going to be stupidly annoying. We've already seen plenty of warriors today from streams I've watched and whatnot running with sword, so it's obviously made a pretty big change in warrior meta. But again, is it enough to make it viable in tournament play is yet to be seen. Skullcrack increased the stun duration from 1.52 to 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, okay. So that's been upped for the second and third one, and the damage has been increased by 50%. Endure Pain has had its cooldown reduced by 30 seconds, and No Jumper is still here. I'm just trying to... He has his mic muted, though, so I don't know if he knows the line about Warrior that he'd want to chime in on. But anyway, so Endure Pain has obviously had a buff here, reduced the cooldown by 30 seconds. And now going down here a little bit more. Stomp, the Stomp now has the ability to break stuns, which is pretty, again, they've thrown stuns in here, or stun breakers rather, in here in some pretty interesting places. Notably on Elementalist, I think there's a couple other classes that have them thrown in on interesting places as well, specifically Engineer as well. Here's an interesting one. Is not only is it going to break stuns now, but it's going to knock people around you back. So yeah, interesting choice there to see. And a lot of this is sort of to be experimented with now. And no, looking at it, Throw Bolas has had the aftercast reduced. Doliac Signet as well is now a stun breaker, and let me see what Doliac Signet actually did. I'm trying to look at chat here as well. Dolyak Signet. Okay, so Dolyak Signet increased, reduces rather your incoming damage, and when you activated it, you would gain stability. It has a 1/4 second cast time. It's so pretty good considering the fact that it's also now going to stun. It's going to break stuns, in addition to the fact that it will give you that stability. And then we're going to see Throw Bolas has had the aftercast reduced. Kick has had its damage doubled. Berserker's Stance has had the recharge increased to 60 seconds. Reduces the I'm really tripping on my own words here, and I apologize. The duration has been reduced by 4 seconds, or to 4 seconds. But the stance now also reduces incoming condition duration by 100%, so only modified conditions can get through. Balanced stance now also applies swiftness. Swiftness doesn't really... it's sort of eh. So I don't see much coming in there. Dual Strike, reduce the aftercast again. Rolling Axe, aftercast. Rush, reduce the aftercast. The transition between Mug and Swing portion has all been smoothed out, so really just trying to... I'm trying to read the chat at the same time here. Anyway. And then looking down here, we have a pretty big amount of hammer buffs here as well, looking at it. All these are the hammer buffs here. So from what I read, it has increased the smoothness and just the general usability of the hammer by a lot. So there's a lot there. I think we're going to see a lot more hammer builds being used now. There's already been some experimentation in the works with hammer condition cleanse, stuff like that. So it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to know just how usable hammer is going to be. But again, this is the question for the Warrior: is it enough to buff it into viability in tournament play? Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a 100 Blades build, which is viable in tournament play. It's just it's weird because you need to build your entire comp around using it properly, which does end up somewhat hurting your team in the long run of things. But now hammers, there's all buffs all across the board. But from what I've heard, these buffs are sort of all in the wrong place. But that is yet to be seen in the coming days. Rampage, the cooldown's been reduced to 150 seconds, so may see it on tanky builds, but it's nothing huge in my opinion. Brutal Shot now adds 5 stacks of vulnerability, which was up from 1. The duration of the vulnerability applied has changed from 15 to 5, so pretty sort of up and down nerf there. Knot Shot reduces the recharge from 25 to 15 seconds. Untraded Longbow, the range has been increased to 1,000. And I'm trying to read chat at the same time. Okay, sorry about that. And as well, let me see here. And Whirling Axe has had its damage increased by 50% in PvP only. Fear Me has been brought down to 60 seconds from 90 seconds. Now that's a pretty big buff, in my opinion, because that's a pretty amazing utility, especially if you pop it, like, if you run into a crowd of down players and you pop that in the middle of that, that's pretty freaking crazy. So hopefully we'll start to see that a little bit more in tournament play if we do see more Warriors in there. Beyond that, though, again, I don't want to comment too much on the traits here. But just in general, because I unfortunately don't have a Warrior representative with me here right now to talk about Warriors so much, so I'm just sort of going over my own opinions. But in general, like I've said, like I've talked to a few people today, and none of them wanted to come on here, but in general, what the consensus is yes, they've been buffed. There's going to be a lot more builds now, but from what a lot of people think is all the buffs were in the wrong places. So it may or may not be in tournament viability yet. On paper, it is, but in application, a lot of the teams and players don't know yet, so that has yet to be tested. So we'll probably find out more in like a week or so. Probably it'll be discussed on State of the Game more once people have had more time to experiment. The point of this show was more to just go over the generality of it, what we could see, and maybe what we couldn't see from it. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm not really good with Warrior traits, so I don't want to go over those too much. So before I head off, guys, is there any questions to any of the balance changes? This show went like 8 times the duration I intended it to be. I wanted this to be like a 30-minute show and end up being a 2.5-hour show. So, real quick, guys, before I go, that's actually pretty much wraps it up because I don't really want to go over the Warrior changes here too much because I feel I'll misquote something horribly. But are there any questions, real quick, before I head off? Obviously, VODs will be available. This will be a two-part thing because I had the session I was doing before. Members of TP and the other guys jumped in, and I'll upload those in 2 parts to my YouTube channel, which is down below. Expect that probably at the very latest tomorrow afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So, again, any questions before I head off? Anything at all? No. All right, guys. So thanks again for watching. Actually, a pretty hefty viewer count. So more than likely, what we'll be doing this for the next patch, and I'm gonna get it because this was a very casual thing. I didn't expect this to get like 150 viewers at one point. So we'll do this next time, and I think I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna get like one person from each class and jump between channels to talk to them individually about this, as well as make the show a little bit more appealing than just having the traits over here to my over to my right. But yeah, guys, that's about it. Yeah, and State of the Game is on Sunday. So, thanks again for watching, guys. I guess sub and all that if you want to, but you don't have to. But I guess I'll see you guys later. I'm going to do my regular stream in about an hour. It was originally scheduled for 8 p.m., but because this ran so long, I'm going to take an hour break, and I'll be doing my normal nightly ASP stream. And I think I'm going to give away some gems, too, tonight. So if you want to show up for that. I'll be doing that in about an hour, guys. And, yeah, peace out.